What's up, kinfolk? Welcome to the #1 ranked show. I am your host, RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Thank you for watching wherever it is that you consume the podcast, whether it be on Apple or Spotify for the audio version, or on YouTube where you can see my smiling face. Today, we're going to talk with Cincinnati wide receiver Alec Pierce, continuing our NFL draft interview series. In this interview, I talk with Alec about his time at Cincinnati, obviously, but we also talk about how he is one of the guys that was at the forefront of this outstanding run of winning that has happened underneath Luke Fickell, and what he has taken away from his time, not just being one of the better wide receivers in Cincinnati, but also being a part of the first group of 5 program to receive an invitation to the college football playoff. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know that I have been, please expand the playoff, you cowards. Now, they didn't do that, but they did put an undefeated Cincinnati into the playoff. We talked about what he learned from playing against Alabama, why he went off against Notre Dame. Sorry, producer Tyler. And what he perhaps would like to do in the NFL, maybe play with Desmond Ridder. I will add there Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. It's looking pretty good. Played in the Super Bowl, right? Might be something you want to keep up. Let's talk to Alec. I'm happy to be joined by former Cincinnati wide receiver and NFL draft hopeful Alec Pierce. Alec, how you doing?
Good. How are you, RJ?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. I want to start with the conversation around your NFL combine experience. I mean, it was outstanding. And I put together a winners and losers list, and you were one of my winners because you were fast and you were so very, shall we say, vertically inclined. Because before we started this, I had said Billy Hoyle is looking at Alec Pierce and saying, hey, look, see, it's not just me. Somebody tell Sidney Dean that it ain't just me. Yo, man, how was that performance for you? And dunk on me, if you would, for the Sidney Dean reference.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. You know, it was everything I'd been working for this past couple months. And yeah, no, that's kind of always been like a part of my life. I've always been someone that's turned ahead with jumping, especially like if I just go to the park or something, like I played basketball, like dunking for me has always just been super easy. So, you know, like I definitely can relate to that.
Jump ball expert Alec Pierce, who, by the way, dropped 40 inches in the vertical. Like, come on, man. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't care who you are. That's stupid. I love that. Were you actually the dude at the rec center that was, or did y'all have the rule at the rec center where you can't dunk?
No, we could dunk here. We let it go. Yeah.
Hey, 2 hands, 1 hand. What you doing?
A little bit of both. You know, 1 hand, 2 hand, whatever.
See, man, I'm 5'5". I don't know what that life is like. I just, you know, yeah. I'm wrestling.
Lower it down to 8. You know,
yeah, man. All right. So, what NFL wide receivers do you think your game is most like, or who do you model your game after?
I love AJ Green's game. I think that's kind of very, very good comparison because he's a guy that they used to, like, you know, back in his Cincinnati days, especially, they'd throw the ball up to him. But he's also a guy, you know, that's like got a huge catch radius and is able to, like, not only able to go up and get it over guys, but he also has that vertical speed and he can blow by you too. So that's kind of, I think, probably the best comparison and best guy I've like modeled my game after.
I like AJ Green. It's also telling that when you said AJ Green, I thought about Georgia, right? And then you go to Cincinnati. So one, age difference, but also I'm an Oklahoma guy, which should say that AJ Green was making my guy Kyler Murray look kind of good. When you catch a football, are you paying attention to how tightly the laces are spinning? Are you paying attention to accuracy? Or are you just trying to go get the ball?
Just trying to go get the ball. Sure.
And in trying to go get the ball, is that instinctual for you, or do you know where you want to be at the time that a route is breaking?
Yeah, I mean, I got my landmarks, especially, you know, on different types of routes, on like depth and stuff like that, because that helps me and the quarterback be on the same page. But especially for the jump balls, that's like very instinctual. You know, I think it just comes from playing a lot of different sports and doing a lot of different things growing up.
And living above the rim, which I'm going to keep referring to because I'm jealous. Lastly, what separates you from wide receivers in this draft class?
I'd say, my catch radius, like you said, I was one of the taller guys, and I got long arms, and then I put on top of that vertical. So that right there just equates to the biggest catch radius. And then I think mentally, I got a really high football IQ. Something I pride myself in. I tried to learn a lot of the offense, tried to like look at things from the quarterback's perspective and learn all the positions and what everyone's got to do and what the reads are and stuff like that. So I think mentally, I'm a guy that's going to be able to come in and comprehend the complicated playbooks that teams have in the NFL and just kind of be able to hit the ground running from day one.
I would add in there that you faced, I think, in practice, two of the best defensive backs in all of college football.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Well, and what did you learn from playing against guys like Kobe and Sauce?
Yeah, so for me, I always was against Sauce because that was like I played the boundary, he played the boundary. So just like learning from him, like he's the most physical cornerback I ever played against in terms of like pressing and like he really wants to be up in your face and is really physical with his hands at the line. So it really taught me how to go against press coverage, and it just made the game so much easier because I was never getting pressed by a guy that like him. He's probably the biggest, longest cornerback in this draft class, if not playing football. So like he just going against him every day and how like aggressive he was, and then it's just practice too. So like he's not worried about like if I beat him deep, it's not gonna be on SportsCenter. So like he was out there super aggressive, and I had to learn ways to combat that.
So how much of the trash talking and the begging for a flag are you doing in practice? Going, hey coach, you see he got my jersey over here. Come on, man.
Yeah, we did a little bit, but I mean, there's no one to beg to. Like, my receiver coach didn't want to hear that. So it was
No, hey, give me an example of what that looked like.
Oh, I mean, we would have our days so we do our summer camp out in High Ground, Indiana. So it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, about 30-minute drive from Cincinnati. And we'd have our days. Some days he wins some days I win some, and some days we'd scrap a little bit, but it was all in good fun. And, like we had a really good relationship where we were able to go at it. We were able to talk to each other and do all that, but then still be like cool after practice,
Nah, man, that's what's up. Like one of the things I really enjoy about hearing these sorts of stories is the camaraderie, but also you feel like you can go at your guy just a little bit more than you might be able to go at somebody else because you just don't know them, and there's not be that opportunity to try to make up after the fact. But I need to ask, outside of Sauce, outside of Kobe, who is the best defensive back that you faced in your career at Cincinnati?
I'd say probably my sophomore year we played up at Ohio State, and Jeff Okuda was pretty good. He's a really good athlete, man. He could cover, he had quick feet, and that was pretty fluid. So yeah, like that was a tough matchup for me, but our team kind of got killed. We didn't do too well in that game, so it was like
Hey man, 2019 was hard for a lot of people, right? I mean, look, we're also talking about a guy that ended up going number 3 overall in the draft, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, look, nobody's gonna shade you for saying Jeff Okuda or Ohio State, but I also want to get in there because you understand what it is to be physical because I was reading up on you, and you play a little linebacker freshman on a scout team. I want to know, you still around to hit people? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, you can put me in the box. I'll see what I can do. I mean, it might not look too pretty, but I'll give it a shot.
No, I like hearing that, but it also speaks to the kind of philosophy that you have at Cincinnati because Coach Fickle is a defensive-minded dude, and y'all seem to play with a little bit of more grit, a little bit more of a chip on your shoulder, something to prove. Did you feel that in 2021?
Yeah, for sure. I think we were always, for us, it was, like we go into a team like Notre Dame and we're ranked higher than teams, but no one's expecting us to win. Like we're ranked higher and still teams and no one's expecting us to win. People always, look at us as a second tier program. So things like that just kind of always gave us a chip on our shoulder, and it really made us, lock in and know what we had to do and what the opportunity we had to do, and showcase what we can do at our school. So going out there for that Notre Dame game, Indiana game, those are huge opportunities for us, and we took advantage of them.
Yeah, man, people forget, like, when y'all were playing Indiana, still what we thought of as a top 25 team, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I'll never forget going into Notre Dame, you're an underdog as the higher seed. I understand that you're not paying attention to the spread, but you obviously are hearing people are picking Notre Dame. How does that go down in your locker room? What's practice like that week?
I mean, we had a little bit of extra motivation because I know guys were especially fired up on our defense because our defensive coordinator had left and gone there, and like taking our corners coach was up there from years past. So they knew the coaches, and they weren't too happy that he left. With I understand he left. Like you get a big pay bump and stuff like that. And he's the head coach there now, so I'm happy for him. But yeah, like guys were super super motivated that game and just knew like the opportunity had. And another big thing is I don't think Notre Dame had lost at home in a long time, like 20 some games. So that was just a great opportunity for us, and we just really took advantage of it.
I need to point out Coach Freeman, Marcus Freeman, defensive coordinator at Cincinnati before becoming the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, now the head coach at Notre Dame. And that dude just keeps running into people that just want a piece of him from where he's been. First Cincinnati, this year he's going to get Ohio State. He went to Ohio State. It's going to be rough for him in them streets, especially if there's another you facing him. Because I need to point this out, dog. Like, you had a game at Notre Dame. Like, I think you had 6 for 144. What were you feeling when you're playing against those dudes, man?
Man, they went to me. I think I had some early catches and then finally broke through on the deep ball, and then they went back to me on another deep ball. So I had a couple of deep balls that game. But just the offense, especially when we played like teams like that are a little bit more physical, and can kind of match our style of play. That was when we really like turned to me a lot of times to get an explosive play, So like, because just running the ball, like we would run the ball against teams in our conference just fine, and might not have to throw the ball downfield, but that was like really always the time that we'd go to me. So like, I always look forward to big games like that and just loved them because I knew it was going to be lots of opportunities for me to like make my impact on the game.
It feels like an inflection point, not just for Cincinnati, but for you, as you're leaving Cincinnati after what I think is the best 3-4 year period in its history. What was it like to be on a team that kept winning over and over again and playing really good football against really good football teams who's continually overlooked and undervalued?
It was a blessing, coming in Cincinnati. When I committed here, they were 4-8. So like coming in my first year, I was not expecting to win 11 games. Like that was really crazy. And then I think we won in 11 the next year, and then 9-1 the next year in the COVID year, and then this year we just lost our final game of the year. So it was an unbelievable experience, and I don't think I could have dreamed all that happening. But yeah, for sure. Like you get with all that winning, like you gotta keep in consideration like winning's hard, and like all these teams that we play against, like they're on scholarship too. They're on the same level as us. So like you can't take for granted winning a game ever. And like that's really what they had to get on us this year, because we had went on a little bit of a slump where we were like beating teams that people would say are inferior to us in our conference, and only beating them, just kind of scraping by them. And our coach is just like, like, hey, as long as we keep winning, like that's all that matters at the end of the day. Because it's hard. Winning's hard, and teams are putting together. They're throwing everything at us. They were putting the whole game plan together. Like this was their season. This was their Super Bowl. Was playing us.
I'm with you. Now, I need to just preface this by saying I'm the guy that wants to see the playoff expanded to 16 teams. I'm also the guy that says I call you guys kids, you're grown men. I can't fault players for beating the people in front of them. And if you can do that over and over again, I believe you should earn an opportunity to play for the belt, right? And y'all finished last season as the only undefeated team in the regular season. I gotta ask, do you have feelings about the college football playoff and whether or not it should be expanded, even as Cincinnati was the first Group of 5 team to receive an invitation to the 14 playoff?
I think with us getting the invite, that showed like that they were considered a Group of 5 teams. So I think I was like, I don't know necessarily if they would need to expand it. I think it would be cool if they expanded it, but I also understand like that it's just going to put added games on the guys, and the season's already pretty long at it as what it is, like 15 games for the if you go to the national championship. So like making that 16, like I don't know. It depends, and maybe they could take out the because I don't think they should take out like the conference championship games and stuff like that. But I feel like that was what would end up happening if they expanded the playoffs.
No, I can get there. I can certainly get there with especially this understanding about what you guys have to do already. I'd also just point to NFL, you're going to play 17 games. It's 15 games to win a national championship. I feel like there's some leeway in there that everybody can come to a solution that they like. But I sincerely appreciate you giving me some insight into what you're feeling as far as the games you have to play, but also the games you want to play. So to that end, I need to ask, when you saw that Notre Dame was on the schedule, right, and you knew that you had an opportunity to play in the college football playoff, how much of the team was rooting for Notre Dame to be undefeated when y'all got a chance to play against them?
I don't know. I think maybe like after we had beat them, I'm sure like it was like, oh, like them to keep winning because they did, and it was nice because like I knew the committee they literally couldn't put them above us because like if they would have done that, the committee would have been crucified. Like it would have been brutal. So like they couldn't have put them above us, and they were always just ranked right behind us. So it kind of gave me a little bit of comfort. But yeah, before we played them, like I was more so like focused on like Indiana, and like the games like like who we were playing. But like after we played them, like you'd hear it be like, oh, like Notre Dame won, like, oh, that's good. Like keep boosting our best win.
Don't you worry about dunking on a committee. I got them. I can get to that rim. And they know me in these streets. Like when it comes to Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, I don't care. I want to see the playoff expanded because I like seeing you guys play football. I like seeing winning football played.
For sure.
Another guy that had a great season, in particular a great game at Notre Dame, but just throughout the season is Desmond Ridder. Would you be interested in playing with Desmond in the NFL?
Oh, I'd love to play with Desmond. I mean, that would just be a great advantage, I think, for both of us, like coming in and just having that comfort with one another already. So yeah, I think it'd be great. It'd be great to have a guy on the team that I'm already tight with like that. So yeah, would love it.
I'm going to point out that Joe Burrow plays with Jamar Chase. It seems to be going pretty well, right? We're seeing more quarterback, wide receiver pairings that are in college coming to the NFL, and it seems like it's paying immediate dividends. Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. We're getting Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle. Why not Desmond Ridder and Alec Pierce?
Why not?
So I'm an Oklahoma fan. I went to the University of Tulsa. So I had a rooting interest in Tulsa versus Cincinnati. I know how I felt at the end of that game. How did you feel at the end of that game?
Relieved. I felt relieved. That's probably the one time I'd say I felt relieved at the end of a football game. But yeah, that ending was crazy. And like for me, everything just felt so out of my control because it was all the defense, and they just did a great job stepping up and like, I mean, that was crazy. I don't know. I wonder if that's ever happened. And like they had 6 plays maybe from inside the 2-yard line, and we stopped them every time.
Yeah. It was 6. Yeah. And it was from inside the 2. Yeah. I remember. But I also think it's a great opportunity for you to reflect on the strength of the American Conference, because when we think about the American Athletic Conference, we don't think of Tulane pushing Cincinnati or Tulsa pushing Cincinnati. We think in terms of Cincinnati more or less dominated in the league. How do you feel about the league from top to bottom?
No, they're definitely like, I think especially like the teams that, I mean, people respect UCF a little bit, like from a national perspective, and like maybe like Houston, but like I think the other teams, they should get a lot more love because, like I said, like they still have the talent, they still are all on scholarship, stuff like that. So like as you saw, like we get played tough by Tulsa every year, and it's like slowly becoming a rivalry of ours because like just of how the games, it's always super chippy game. But yeah, Tulsa, Temple in the past, Navy played us super tough this year. Tulane, like there's a lot of good teams in our conference that don't get a lot of credit. Like I'm sure it's like if they were in the SEC and going 2-2 or like 3-9 or whatever, like the bottom tier SEC teams, they'd be like, oh, like they'd still try to say they're better, like like they try to people always give the benefit of the doubt to the Power 5 teams. So
yeah, and we're seeing why that is, right? And more or less not. And I'm pointing to why that is, saying Cincinnati, Central Florida, Houston are going to join the Big 12 in the coming years. But I also think it's a really interesting spot for teams like Tulsa, East Carolina, Tulane to try to demonstrate what kind of football program that they have and perhaps get on their Cincinnati, because as you mentioned, 4-8 when you got there, right? Now we think of Cincinnati as being a 10-win team. Last question for you in regard to your time at Cincinnati is, do you have a favorite Luke Fickell story that you can tell us?
I think there's a couple of guys like that were getting into fights at practice, right? I think it was D lineman, O lineman getting in a fight at practice, and like Fickle was just not having it that day about guys fighting. Like he wanted them to, I think it was during the season, so like he wanted us to be locked in. Like he wouldn't care if it's fall camp or, I mean, he would take care of it, but it wouldn't like piss him off like it did this time, because this is like during, like, it should be in the week we're focused, like we should be focused on the opponent, like we have work to do. We're not just like working to be better football players. So he got mad at these guys for fighting basically, and like circled up the whole team and basically just calls the guys out, and he's like, you guys want to fight? Like you can fight me, like let's go. And he's like standing there calling him out, and the players just kind of like looking at him, and like they're like I can't fight, coach. Like he's like, come on, like you want to fight? Like if you're a tough guy, like come fight me. Like let's go. Like it was funny. It was just like, because the players, they can't do anything. They know it's a lose-lose situation at that point, so they're just gonna look like they're scared of the coach, But I mean, I think if they would have came at him, like he would have fought him. He doesn't care. He loves it. He's a competitor, man.
I love that because, Coach Fickell, former linebacker at Ohio State, he got some stuff in his neck, I'm sure. It reminds me of one of my favorite stories to tell about Coach Saban at Michigan State. He used to hand out boxing gloves. Like, all right, if we're going to do this, then let's do this. But it also speaks to just how strong being strong is in the culture at Cincinnati, because I don't think of Cincinnati in the way that I think of, say, Tulsa in 2010, where we're just going to throw the ball all over the yard and going to outscore people. No, you guys are going to be physical. You're going to hit people in the mouth, and you're going to try to big boy folks. So
tough and nasty. That's our motto. Tough and nasty.
Well, and see, look, I'm watching the Alabama-Cincinnati game, right, in the Cotton Bowl for the college football playoff. And the thing that really stuck to me is actually your homie Leonard Taylor, right? Who was lined up outside over a freshman named JaQuincy McKinstry, who at the time was one of the best cornerbacks in the country coming out of high school. And I kept looking at him, and he's looking over at, looked like Desmond going mouse in the house, right? Like, throw me the ball up. How much of this do you actually see on the sideline when you're going, okay, not only can we play with these dudes, but some of us are much bigger than who they're putting on the field?
Yeah. I definitely noticed it. And it was, it's a credit, I think, to like the recruiting and the like weight room, strength and conditioning staff. Like I could tell from like my first year to just how big our team got, and big and strong, just from how hard we trained. Like we were, especially on some of the teams in our conference, like we definitely had a big size advantage a lot of the time.
As you're getting ready for this NFL draft, April 28th kicks off a Thursday in April. What have you learned about yourself and about this process that you can share?
I mean, learned a lot from like all these coaches, things I need to work on, things like to become a better player. And I just like learn with myself, like ways that I got to work to become better, like working as a pro. I know down in my training, my trainer, Yo Murphy, he did a great job helping me get ready for the combine and stuff, but he really kind of taught me like smarter ways to work and like things I got to do. Like, cause I know I was coming straight off the season, coming straight off the Cotton Bowl when I went down to training there. So I wanted to hit the ground running. I'm like, let's start learning how to run the 40, stuff like that. All these things that I had to work on. And He's like, no, you got to get your body ready. Like, and he wouldn't let me do like really anything until I was like healthy. Cause it's a long season. You get a little banged up. So yeah, I had to do a ton of PT and stuff like that, and really kind of like worked from the ground up and rebuilt myself till I was ready to go, like for that training. Cause he didn't want anything hold me back, And I think that's a professional mindset.
It certainly worked, dog. Like, again, the NFL Combine speaks for itself. The results are there. And then what you put on tape last year. Alec Pierce, former wide receiver at Cincinnati and NFL draft hopeful. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching this video. And remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 Ranked Show YouTube channel.